Hi everyone, Christoph the Polish Geek, and finally welcome to the review of Guillermo Del Toro's Frankenstein, because this movie, I've been constantly saying on my channel and anytime I brought it up that this was by far my most anticipated movie of this year actually. Ever since this movie was announced, it has very much been my most anticipated movie of this year. And yes, I'm very late with the review because the movie got a small release in select theaters, sadly not in Poland, and I even did a rant on that, but it was finally released on November 7th, and I actually watched it that very day, but again, I got a little bit late with the review again because I've been too busy making my Witcher marathon, but finally, here is my review of Guillermo Del Toro's Frankenstein, because again, I actually watched it the very day it was released on November 7th on Netflix, and this movie totally met my expectations because I loved every minute of it. Like, this was a really amazing movie. And where would I say it ranks among Guillermo Del Toro's movies? Well, my favorite Guillermo Del Toro movie is still by far his Pinocchio. Only from 2022 actually, that's still by far my favorite movie by Guillermo Del Toro. Although I recently rewatched Pan's Labyrinth to get ready for that and only to remember how much I love Pan's Labyrinth as well. So, yeah, I guess Pinocchio is my favorite, but Pan's Labyrinth comes very close, and maybe upon more rewatches of both, who knows, I might change my mind and Pan's Labyrinth will become once again my favorite movie by Guillermo Del Toro. Who knows? But either way, let's just say Pinocchio and Pan's Labyrinth are my two favorite movies by Guillermo Del Toro. But Frankenstein, actually, honestly, I'm surprised to be saying it, might now actually be on the third place. I mean, we'll see more on subsequent rewatches, but for now I might say Frankenstein might be on the third place. And the first thing I'll tell about Frankenstein is that I love the atmosphere of the movie. I love this gothic atmosphere, and the cinematography is fantastic, totally evoking Guillermo del Toro and perfectly fitting for the Frankenstein, as well as all the set pieces. I mean, we've seen a little glimpses of set pieces as we see about making of the movie, but yeah, I thought all the set pieces and set design, everything of that was amazing, as were all the costumes and all. So, the atmosphere, the cinematography, the set designs, all the costumes, all of that was really incredible and very much screamed Guillermo del Toro. Like, Frankenstein was it was constantly been saying that it was very much one of Guillermo del Toro's passion projects that he's been wanting to make for many, many years. And I don't know how much of that is true, but one thing is certain. He very much did have lots, and I mean lots of passion for this movie. I'll be honest, I haven't read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein book, so I know very little about Frankenstein. My most familiarity about Frankenstein is from the Boris Karloff movie, and also a lot from Castlevania video games, although in Castlevania video games he generally tends to be nothing more than a boss. I mean, we are calling him Frankenstein. It's actually the creature, not Frankenstein. I mean, the doctor is Frankenstein. So, the best idea I had about Frankenstein's monster is that the mad scientist, Dr. Frankenstein, basically, like, created this, like, zombie-like creature that's been widely known as Frankenstein, even if he's actually Frankenstein's monster. Like, yeah, mad scientist creating the creature. Yep, that's pretty much as far as my knowledge of Frankenstein goes. But as I said, I never read the Mary Shelley's book, so never really knew much about it. But from what I'm hearing from people who did read the book, actually, that apparently this is the most faithful adaptation. I mean, some details have changed, like apparently the ending is actually very different. Like apparently the ending of the original book is actually far more depressing, while this one is a lot more hopeful actually. And some other details also changed actually, but overall it's the most faithful adaptation. At least that's from what I heard, so all the more, so it was really nice to actually experience the true original story. And also, you can really tell how much the characters have very much evolved into something completely different. So seeing them what they were originally supposed to be with the story's original themes and everything was really nice. And one of my favorite things also was the way Guillermo del Toro chose to tell this story from two different perspectives, and the first half of the movie, actually the first two-thirds actually, being told from the perspective of Victor Frankenstein, and the way his backstory and all, and how he came up with the idea of creating the creature, and his goal was basically to conquer death itself and learn to create life basically, and then actually creating the creature and his relationship also with his brother as well as the brother's wife and all that, and then his regret of creating the creature and all that, and then the other third of the story, the last third of the story was basically, on the other hand, from the perspective of the creature, and that's when the creature was created, and then because Victor Frankenstein attempted to murder the creature after he regretted how much he created him, and then the creature basically embarking on a journey to basically find his own purpose, and the lots of deep and complex themes that the movie was exploring was just so amazing and so touching. Like in many ways, it was it was also very much the delving deep into the themes of loneliness and that we all need basically human company and how much other people play a role in our life basically. That was like one of the most deep themes of the movie, which is so important because such a deep theme is so timeless and so important, and also in general so consistent with Guillermo Del Toro's themes, and that was all really amazing. And I also really love the design of the creature actually, and the performance by Jacob Elordi was so incredible. Like, this is probably the best performance of this year by far, actually one of the best performances of this decade. But yes, the performance that Jacob Elordi as the creature is just so incredible, especially that even though on the outside he looks like the monster, but when you look into his eyes and his face expressions, you can tell that in many ways the creature is basically thinks like a human, and he's practically a human, just maybe not in biology and not in looks, but certainly in his soul actually. And that, so yeah, the performance by Jacob Elordi was just so spectacular, and I think he should totally win an Oscar for his amazing performance. Don't know if he will win, sadly, but he very much deserves to. And speaking of performances, I think this movie by far very much brimmed with incredible performances. Jason Isaac as Victor Frankenstein was really incredible as well, and such a perfect pick for the role. And also Mia Goth as Elizabeth, the crush of Victor Frankenstein, the lover of his brother, but also later sort of a romantic partner of the creature actually. She was also really amazing in her role, and Christoph Waltz as her uncle, the Harlander, was incredible. So yes, the performances were simply incredible, and Guillermo Del Toro truly picked really wonderful actors to star in his amazing movie. Still, I just gotta go back and once again praise the atmosphere, the set pieces, and the gothic atmosphere, as well as the cinematography, because all of that was just really amazing, and I just can't get enough of it. Like, the gothic castle of Victor Frankenstein was so incredible, with just so much details and all that. And I'm totally planning to actually watch the making of this movie, because that's another thing I love about Guillermo del Toro's movies, that you're always so fascinated to actually watch behind the scenes and see all the passionate dedication that went into creating his really amazing movies, actually. I also see lots of people basically saying that Frankenstein is this year's Nosferatu, and I'm totally on board with that, especially that Nosferatu was very much my favorite movie of last year, and on the other hand, while Frankenstein is my favorite movie of this year, and both were very much my most anticipated movies of their respective years, and ended up also being my favorite movies of their respective years, in addition to both being sort of gothic horrors. Although, whereas Nosferatu puts a much bigger pressure on horror and scariness, whereas Frankenstein, I say, like, the scary part's like few far in between. Mostly, it's actually more of a gothic dark fantasy, romantic tragedy, actually. Because you can't really say the movie is scary, at least not in a classic way, but if you do find it scary, then it might be due to more of like deep thematic themes that go into the movie. As I said, the themes of loneliness as well as our need for human connection, and sometimes what it feels like to be an outcast, because this is the type of feeling that we all as humans have actually very much been experiencing in our life. Like everyone once in a lifetime felt like an outcast, like that we weren't liked, and the desire for need with human company. Especially I did actually, like especially throughout my childhood, especially my elementary school. There was plenty of times where I was very much not liked by other kids and was kind of bullied actually. So I found it even so much more relatable actually. And I will also say this. This is very much a movie that clearly is very much meant to be experienced theatrically, and the fact that it got such a limited theatrical release is just outrageous, because Guillermo Del Toro very much wanted it to have a wide theater release, but this is Netflix we're talking about. Obviously they wouldn't agree to that. And here in Poland it didn't get a theatrical release at all, which is, as I said, just outrageous, and even did a whole rant video on that, because again, this is very much a movie that's clearly meant to be experienced in theaters. If I ever get an opportunity, then I'm totally doing that, and this is also one of those movies that you very much want to own in your DVD Blu-ray collection. Again, if it ever gets released physically, then I'm totally getting a physical copy, no questions asked. Again, it almost certainly will never ever get a physical copy, but if it does, then no questions asked, I'm completely buying it. And another thing is that some people would ask, is this really an amazing movie, or maybe the standards have lowered? Because this is a question that plenty of people are very much asking themselves these days actually, whenever a great movie gets released. And my experiment on that, and I've been a couple of times talking about it, is simple. Imagine the movie coming out back in 2013. Would it be amazing then? Among plenty of other amazing movies that were released at the time? Or would it just be another average movie? That's my experiment. And if Frankenstein came out in 2013, then it would still be a really amazing movie, even standing out among the other plenty of really good, amazing movies that came out in 2013 and 2012, 2014 for that matter. Movies in general of its time. That's the best way you can tell if the movie really is amazing or if standards have lowered. And Frankenstein very much falls into the category of being a genuinely amazing movie that if it came out 20 years ago, it'd still be really amazing. And it also shows that good movies in Western entertainment are still very much being made. It's just that they are not being really promoted. They are being buried among the piles of shit, and worse yet, they're completely not being promoted, and sometimes almost feels like those companies like Netflix, Disney very much do their best to actually sabotage them, ironically sabotage the very things that could actually bring them so much money and success actually. Again, the fact that this movie hasn't got a wide theater release is just outrageous, but you can truly tell how much passion and dedication went into this movie, because again, this has reportedly been Guillermo Del Toro's passion project for 2 decades, and I could totally see that, because again, it very much seems like the type of movie that Guillermo Del Toro very much wanted to make for many years, and finally his dream came true. But again, I really loved his Frankenstein. If I compare it to other of my favorite Guillermo Del Toro's movies, I said my favorite is still very much Pinocchio, although upon rewatching Pan's Labyrinth again, I'm actually debating if it's Pinocchio or Pan's Labyrinth. They're almost tied up and both really amazing movies, but for now let's just go with Pinocchio, followed very closely by Pan's Labyrinth, which is considered his magnum opus, by the way. But again, I very much think that Frankenstein might actually now be in the third place, and the fourth would be then Devil's Backbone, with Hellboy and Hellboy 2 and Hellboy 2 Golden Army as both tied up for number 5. But yes, I actually think that Frankenstein very much now might actually be in the third place, and I'm already eager to actually watch it again. This is one of those movies that I will be more than happy to actually rewatch many times actually. But again, Guillermo Del Toro's Frankenstein was very much my most anticipated movie for this year. And now it's my favorite movie of this year. Really amazing movie, and it was so worth the wait ever since it started shooting. So, thank you everyone for checking out this review. Press the like button, please subscribe to this channel, and I'll talk to you soon in another video. Talk to you then, bye!